Welcome once again. We are, as always, with Greg Engert, beer director for the Neighborhood Restaurant Group, which includes such places as Birch and Barley and Church Key, where we normally are. But a change of venue this time around. We're at the Majestic Bar at the Evening Star Cafe.
Thanks for having me. It's great. Yeah, it's cool to be here at the Majestic because this is a whole new redesign we did Evening Star Cafe this past fall, and it really enabled us to get a lot of cool new beers in here as well. So you can see some of the stuff behind us.
And a unique look here behind us in the bar.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Michael Babin, who's the owner of Neighborhood Restaurant Group, as we were talking about what we wanted to do with beer, he came up with this great idea to kind of retrofit these antique 1950s refrigerators into the kind of the front piece for the drafts. And it's great. We have 19 amazing beers on draft at all times. We serve a cask ale at all times here. And it really has become an amazing outlet for American craft beer.
Well, it's got a really cool feel. It'd be interesting to see what it's like when people are in here enjoying themselves. Let's get to it. What's on tap this week?
Okay, so this week we have the inimitable Kentucky Breakfast Stout from Founders Brewing Company in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And, in a day when it seems like every craft brewery has its own bourbon barrel-aged stout, it's always fun to revisit some of the originals like this and Bourbon County Stout from Goose Island as well. Because I found recently that when I taste these beers again, I realize that they're not just the first, they're still among the finest of these kinds of stouts. And so for KBS, which is a super limited release once a year around this time, they take a beautiful imperial stout. They brew it with imported bitter and sweet Belgian chocolate. They add some coffee beans. And then when it's finished fermenting, they ship the beer over to these old coal mines in Grand Rapids, where they age the beer in about 200 different Heaven Hill bourbon barrels. And then the beautiful thing is the reason why they use the mines is because it's a constant 52 degrees there. It's got high humidity, so the barrels are not going to kind of split and dry out and things like that. 11 and a half months, this beer sits quietly in the mines, in the caves, garnering beautiful bourbon qualities, toasty vanilla aspects to join in with the coffee and chocolate and roasted qualities of the stout itself. They then actually take all the beer out and they test every single barrel to make sure everything went well. Okay. They blend it together and then they put it in a conditioning or bright tank because they don't filter any of their beers. They want the beer to drop bright. The precipitate matter will kind of drop down so it's not really, it's not too cloudy or anything like that. And then they do that for a bit, and then they bottle and keg it, and it's just an amazing experience to drink.
I like the fact that it has the word breakfast in the name.
Right, exactly.
Is that a suggestion?
Yeah, I was going to say, we normally do talk about food pairings, and this is actually one that we try to push at our brunch services across the board. It is amazing with anything pretty much, but with if you get like some pancakes, French toast with maple syrup,
yeah.
It kind of adds the chocolate qualities to it and things like that. It's amazing any time of day.
And
really.
Bacon's good with anything too.
Exactly.
Well, let's give
test
it a try.
out.
Now, there's not a real overpowering bourbon smell in the nose.
No, but on the palate, it comes out a little bit, and it's actually something I want to talk about with this beer because it's obviously delicious, but you get a little bit of a heat of the bourbon itself, right? So that's not a bad thing at all. It's actually quite delicious. However, it's one of the things that lends this beer to aging and laying down. At Church Key right now, I have the past 3 vintages cellared for an eventual release at some point. I'll be sure to let you know when that is.
Thank you.
But the reason why is it's great when it's fresh, but as with like a big, huge boldly tannic red wine, it's going to mellow as it ages. The bourbon qualities will kind of be more subsumed and better integrated. It won't be as kind of hot in the finish, and it really will develop some really amazing complexities over time.
Now, this is a stout, but how, if at all, is the color, and you expect it to be dark, but how, if at all, is the color impacted by that long time it spends in the
barrels?
Bourbon barrels?
I think in this case, not much at all, only because it's so dark. You will see paler beers when they're aged in bourbon barrels, like Allagash Kiryu, which is their triple that's aged in bourbon barrels, we'll pick up a little bit of color from the bourbon, but from the tannins of the wood as well. So it will darken slightly over time.
And we've talked about this quite a bit in the past, the temperature. This is not icy cold,
Not at
and
all.
I'm certainly sure you're not supposed to serve it
Exactly.
icy
I mean,
cold.
this is about 55 degrees. It's perfect for it because a beer with this much weight, literally this much molecular weight, got so much in it. It's going to be harder for the aromas to escape. So a little bit of heat is going to help in that, in kind of getting those volatiles going and evaporating them out. So you get much more aromatics, and also you can just taste every nuance on your palate. When too cold, it's going to stun the nose. It's going to not be as voluminous in the nose, and it's also just not going to give you all those flavors on the palate.
This is delicious, and I've had this before and was blown away. And you start to see, when you look in the coolers at stores, a lot of these sort of bourbon aged barrel stouts,
right.
But they can't all be created equal. Where do people go right or wrong when they're making this?
I mean, I think it's just a matter of just palate. I think that the brewers and blenders really at Founders just know what's right. They've had a lot of experience. I think that the cave aging is really important. It kind of sounds gimmicky. It's not. The temperature and humidity make it so that the bourbon kind of gently infuses into the beer. Sometimes I find that these are really tannic, meaning that the oak itself, the drying character of the oak, kind of multiplies the already roasted dryness of the beer, and you get it to be almost sandpapery on the palate. So the fact is here, I think they're using fresh Heaven Hill barrels, so the bourbon is going to be up in there rather than just the wood. So I think that's important. It's the length, too. I mean, as much as everybody wants to make a bourbon barrel stout, it's pretty crazy to sit on it for almost a year, because that's beer that you're not selling for a year. A lot of people will do it for less time and then maybe don't get quite the nuance you're looking for.
I'm jumping all over the place here, but for people who say don't want to drink this before noon, for dinner items, are there other things you suggest?
I'd go with dessert on this one, just because, I mean, it could just be a dessert on its own. Great, post-dinner, digestif, so to speak, but also, obviously, you think dessert, it would work well. Although, one of my things recently about dessert and beer is I'm not into overwhelming it. So I'm not going to take this with a chocolate-based dessert, just because it's just like so obvious and just too much, and it kind of washes it out. Rather, bring this to maybe something that's more bready, toffee, toast, butterscotch, caramel, vanilla qualities, and it's kind of going to drizzle a little bit of chocolate on a dessert like that.
And before we go, wanted to get an update from you on the James Beard Awards. You were nominated.
I was nominated, semi-finalist, which was amazing, but I did not make it to the finals, and for good reason, because
man enough to talk about it.
No, yeah, well, I'm psyched about it, actually. It was 5 people from the semifinalists made the finals, 2 beer people, 2 very important beer people, Garrett Oliver, brewmaster at Brooklyn Brewery, but almost more well-known at this point for his writing, and he just finished editing the Oxford Companion to Beer, so I agree with that choice. And then Sam Clagione, another good friend of mine, who is the owner and brewmaster of Dogfish Head Craft Brewery, and he makes outstanding beers, including one we're going to taste in a couple weeks.
Okay. Well, Tom Hanks or Jimmy Stewart didn't win an Academy Award after their first film either, I don't think so. It's only a matter of time. Congratulations on the nomination.
Thank you very
anyway.
much.
And once again, with Greg Engert, glad you could join us. Please drink responsibly and bring your thirst next time for another Beer of the Week.